It isn't customer service, it's continuity of care. Do not treat your AI any differently to how you would actually treat the humans that you have in your contact center. If your humans today have an error rate of 10 to 15%, guess what? So's your AI, and that's okay. And if you build your AI 100% accurate, you're going to fail. It's ensuring that actually your AI components with your human agents all come together to deliver the same set of results as to what you have today. When you go up, we have tons of data in our call center. When you go up the line, you only need 5 or 6 key performance indicators that's going to track this with a value, and you go in month after month after month showing improvement, but do not change those 5 or 6 key performance indicators, because the moment you do, you'll lose your C-suite.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Tipsy Thursdays. I am your show host, Juanita Coley, the CEO and founder of Solid Rock Consulting, also affectionately known as the Contact Center Whisperer. I'm super excited. Y'all know we are in season 6 of Tipsy Thursdays, and I'm super excited about this season because you all know that we've been talking about AI, the expanded workforce. And one of the things I get on my soapbox about all the time, everybody knows I have this POV about the workforce not being just forecasting, scheduling, and intraday. That's when I think the biggest myth is that workforce is just forecasting, scheduling, and intraday. It's not. Workforce is about thinking about the force that's working on behalf of your organization. And so that could be AI, that could be humans, that could be machinery, that could be anything, right? Any force that's working on behalf of your organization. And so you have to think about that force very strategically and intentionally. So season 6 is all about that. And so I am so excited to welcome the epic JMP. Thank you so much for being my guest on this episode of Tipsy Thursdays. Like, you could be anywhere, but you decided to be here with me. So thank you.
Juanita, thank you so much for inviting me. I am beyond excited to have the opportunity to come on this podcast with you. And I have to say, I love the phrase "the contact center whisperer." So I love that. I really do. So thank you. Jason Mercer Pottinger, that's a lot of names. So typically I go by JMP. I've been in the industry now over 3 decades. I work at Vantive Healthcare, which is a dialysis provider for both the medtech pieces, right? So machines that are doing dialysis in center, as well as machines who are supporting patients at home. And my group supports all of the necessary pieces that they need for that to happen, as well as technical support in the middle of the night when our patients are dialyzing. It's a very high volume, very high pressurized environment that we live in. And it isn't customer service, it's continuity of care. And I'm sorry, Juanita, you will get a lot of these buzzwords and phrases as we go through this. I've been with Vantive for 19 years. I'm extremely passionate about what I do. I have a large team across the region that supports, like I said, both in-center and at-home dialysis. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with you today.
Now, you said something, and I know this is not on our question track, but I gotta ask you, right? Because I think it's so important for those that are listening back. You say it's not customer service, it's continuity of care. And I love that. Can you just expand on that a little bit more, what that means at Vantive?
Our patients rely on us to provide them with the necessary support that they need to live with these chronic conditions. If we treat this as just a transaction, say Amazon, and I'm not belittling Amazon by any means, right? But if you treat it as an Amazon type transaction, you're actually doing a disservice to what we actually provide as an organization. But worse, you're doing a disservice to patients who rely on us every single day. Dialysis doesn't take a break. So in the middle of the night when a patient is calling us because their machine is alarming, it's continuity of care, continuity therapy, right? We ensure that they can continue and they have the confidence to remain at home. That is really, really key. It's all about how we ensure that they have the confidence to do dialysis at home. And for me, that's what it's all about. I was actually at a kidney walk the other week and I met this guy called Terry who'd had a transplant, right? Great guy. It's all about him. It's not about me. It's not about what our teams do. It's ensuring that our patients can live at home, dealing with these chronic conditions and have a quality of life that they expect and that they deserve.
I Love that. I love that. No, seriously, because I think, I was talking about this in a completely different context the other day. I was talking about it from a mentoring perspective. Someone asked me, like, hey, Juanita, how do you decide about like who you're going to mentor, how you're going to mentor, and what you're going to give your time to? And I said, I think we as people can sometimes be very transactional. And so I'm a very purpose driven leader. So I'm not usually looking at where I pour my time into, am I going to get it back from that person in that instance? Is more so about purpose and being impactful and not being so transactional. What I heard you say in that instance just then just really kind of reconfirms what I'm talking about when I'm thinking about mentoring and those types of things. Is not, we don't want to treat our continuity of care like customer service. We don't want to treat it like it's a transaction. We want to make sure that Terry has the confidence and he has the comfort and he has the quality of life that we all deserve, whether we have a chronic illness or not. And because they have a chronic illness, we want to make sure that we have that continuity of care. Again, I know that's a completely sidebar, right? Heard you say that and I was like, oh, I love that. Like, step down on that a little bit more. Okay. All right. So, rapid fire. Are you ready for
I'm
Tipsy
ready. Let's
Thursdays?
go.
Okay. All right. So, I got 4 questions for you. Going to run through them rapid fire, and I know you're going to drop some gems. You came out to one of our AI in the Wild dinners in Atlanta. And after talking to you for like 2 minutes, I was like, oh, I got to get JMP on the show. Like, this is a no brainer. So, okay, y'all going to see, the audience is going to see why I love me some JMP. All right. So, first question, okay, is what's one thing in customer experience and continuity of care in workforce that still makes you tipsy today? What's the big challenge?
I think the big challenge is the technology is moving at such a rapid pace that actually, as customer care, customer experience leaders, it's how do you keep up with it and how do you actually be knowledgeable so you have the AI acumen or the technology acumen. So when you are getting pressured from your organization on what they think is the next best and shiny thing, that you feel extremely comfortable in going, let's just take a step back. And so I get very tipsy when I hear a lot of leaders who are peppering in all of this technology, and then they tell me, well, nothing really works, JMP. No, because you're not really looking at it from the whole end-to-end piece. So I think there is a piece around education, around technology acumen, in particular AI, where it's going to add value, where it isn't going to add value, and what it actually means to your organization as you start to look at, okay, how do we actually get investments to bring this in? And like I said, I use a lot of buzzwords. I get tipsy when I hear organizations saying we need to destructure to restructure. That's the secret sauce to some of this when you look at the new technologies that are coming out. Don't be frightened of them. I've been around forever, right? And trust me, I went through the whole CRM phase. Our jobs are still here, right? Our jobs will still be there
Right.
again in the future. They may be different. It's how you embrace this technology, lean into it, and really be the expert in the room. Because that's what they're expecting from CX leaders, right? That you understand it and where it's going to add the most value.
I absolutely, chef's kiss. I absolutely love that. I'm not even going to add anything, right? I'm not even going to add anything because that was amazing in and of itself. Okay. My next question for you is what's the one transformation that you're leading right now or looking to lead?
We are a healthcare company, and so our technology has been underinvested for a number of years. So what we're looking at is how do we invest in this technology? Do we actually do it ourselves? Do we actually use our third-party service providers to help us to get us there more quickly? And where's the value proposition as we look to this technology and what it's going to deliver? Not for us as an organization, where it's going to add value to our patients. That's quite key because I think if you look at it just from a very selfish perspective, it's going to take out heads. That's great, tick, but actually doesn't actually add any value to your customers and patients. What's the point? I believe it's if we're looking at okay, how do you make a enterprise-wide transformation that's going to improve it for our customers, improve it for our patients, which ultimately then will improve it for our organization.
One of the things that I say all the time, and I know I get a lot of flack for this, but it's the truth, right? AI does not eliminate work, right? AI redistributes work. Like if I needed a password reset yesterday, tomorrow I'm going to need the password reset. If I needed to call in to make an appointment, or if I needed to make an appointment about my dialysis treatment, I'm going to need an appointment tomorrow, right? AI just simply comes in and redistributes who's doing that work. Like, can AI handle it, or is this something that humans need to handle it? Are you constantly missing service level and you don't know why? Or maybe you're overstaffed and you're bleeding budget and you're not even sure what the right staffing model even is for your organization. Here's what I see constantly. CX leaders with no WFM leader, or maybe they have one person trying to cover the whole function that's maybe on the operations team, or maybe your WFM team actually sits inside of your BPO. Listen, that's not your fault. That's a structural gap. But what it means is that you're making strategic plays without anyone reading your data and turning it into insights that aligns with your CX strategy. We're doing something about it. 100 free data analysis and strategic workforce assessments where we will look at your phone data, your forecast, your schedules, and your intraday performance. And in 72 hours, we hand you back real answers, not a sales pitch deck, but real answers. I did this for a client named Sabina. She had 3 contact centers that were operating at a 59% service level. And within 60 days later, 60 days, because of the insights, she was able to turn into a strategy. She moved to an 82% service level without making any hires. But what mattered most is she got her evenings back. She trusted her data. She was able to lead her operations team, have a strategic strategy that worked for the organization. This is completely free. So if you are a CX leader and you don't have a WFM team, you have your phone data, and you don't have a WFM support, like I said earlier, we have 100 free slots there, first come, first serve through September 15. You already have the answers in your data. Let us turn it into insights. Apply below and let us help you. See you soon. Bye. From your perspective, how is AI redesigning work and the workplace?
Well, first of all, it's enabling us to move our human capacity to more value-added tasks. Now, that in itself means it's a more rewarding type role for our agents. They actually get to add more value back to our patients, and it isn't quite so transactional. So we're able to reduce some of the sort of like the lower value, high volume, repetitive stuff through the use of AI and automation. But also like it comes out to what I said, you have to make sure that you have the experience mapped out. So you really understand, okay, where does the humans actually add the most value? Because they're the most costly, right? So where do you need to have a human in the loop? And also it's okay to say, do you know what? AI actually isn't going to help this process. So actually, we're not going to put another layer in just because we feel that's the right thing. Because you know what, in the middle of the night, our patients want to speak to somebody very, very quickly. And so what we want to make sure is that they are getting to speak to somebody very, very quickly, live, right? So we look at it in healthcare, it's like, it's going to add tremendous value. It's going to redistribute our workforce slightly differently, but we're not getting rid of any heads. What we're doing is we're actually moving them to parts of the patient experience where they're actually going to add the most value.
And I think what's super key in that, and I want to step down on this because what you said is so impactful for people to really understand, is that you have to understand what that patient or the customer or the member, however you refer to your customer base, you have to understand what that experience is, right? Like, what is the experience you're trying to create? What is that journey? What is that customer or member experience journey, patient experience journey? And where do we interject AI? And where do we say, no, the biggest value in this experience here is for them to talk to a person versus here, this is something that they don't need a person for. And they actually, quite frankly, don't even want a person. The first thing is journey mapping, I think is one of the things that we miss a lot when it comes to thinking about how we redesign the workforce is we don't journey map that workout, right? Like, oh, this work is created in response to the customer being on this journey.
And then to go back to your point about workforce planning and workforce management, do not treat your AI any differently to how you would actually treat the humans that you have in your contact center, right? So if your humans today have an error rate of 10 to 15%, guess what? So's your AI, and that's okay. And if you build your AI 100% accurate, you're going to fail. It's ensuring that actually your AI components with your human agents all come together to deliver the same set of results, maybe slightly better. That's a plus, right? as to what you have today. But it's the workforce planning piece is key, because I've seen so many organizations that turn it on expecting 100% right off the bat. And guess what? Those are the organizations that either fail or they're crippled in data that they just haven't got the manpower to analyze.
JMP, you're just a man after my own heart. All right. All right. Like, listen, I absolutely so you gotta okay, because you're gonna get me excited. Okay. So tell the people, why do you say that? Right? Like, why do you say the workforce? Because so
Because I see, I go to a lot
disclaimer,
of,
I did not tell JP to say none
no,
of this
no,
stuff.
none of this, no. But I go to conferences and I hear people go, well, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Well, we expected it to deliver 100%. It's like, but what do you expect when an agent comes out of training? Oh, only like 30 or 40. I don't know, your large language model is the same as an agent, right? It's got to be trained, it's got to learn this stuff, right? And you've got to understand it's going to make mistakes, right? And on a large scale, if it's working 24/7, so it's like you've got to have that rigor in place before you slip this stuff into your contact center or wherever you're going to put it. Because if you don't, it's not going to work. And also, what I'm seeing is leaders now, because of the investment, they're having to have some awkward conversations with their C-suite, because it's like they've sold them on a promise and they've not been able to deliver. And that all comes through. I think workforce planning plays a big part in this, because you've got to treat all of this as one ecosystem. If you look at it separately, it all comes unstuck very quickly.
Y'all heard it here first from JMP, huh? You heard it here first from JMP. I am preaching this, right? Like, I'm preaching this about, like, hey, you have to look at your AI like you look at your human. Just like when you hire people, you have a ramp phase, right? Everybody, every operations leader and every workforce leader knows, like, oh, we have a new hire class is coming out. Oh, their average handle time is going to be a little bit higher and they're going to be a little less productive. Why? Because they're new. However, for some reason, we think that we can just turn on the AI bots, right, and have this AI force, and we're going to get 100% productivity, accuracy. There isn't going to be any chance. Like, no, there's a ramp period, just like there is when we think about if you do it right,
I
right?
think also it comes back to AI acumen. If you understand how large language models work and the fact they need a huge ingestion period, you're not going to get it right off the bat. But if you don't, a lot of technology vendors will sell you on as promise in a prayer, and they walk away. You're left holding the baby. And if you don't understand it and you don't understand how to actually move it forward, guess what? You're going to look extremely naive in your organization. And like I said, I know some leaders, some peers in other industries are having to have some very difficult conversations because they got on the bandwagon very early and they didn't really understand what they were actually buying into.
On that note, what's one piece of advice? I kind of can guess what it would be, but what's one piece of advice that you would give to another leader that's looking at a hybrid workforce, that like AI in a human workforce? Like, hey, I'm trying to figure this all out. I'm getting pressure from C-suite to do something. I don't necessarily know how to articulate this to them, that, hey, it's not going to be right out the gate, this saves, but I still need to think about my workforce planning from a not just human perspective, but also an AI perspective. But I don't really even have a workforce background. How do I start to, like, what would be your advice to them?
I would say you've got to start with, like I said, you've mapped out your customer experience or your patient experience, identified a pain point. That pain point needs to be something you can, that it doesn't need to be every single piece of that experience. It could just be one aspect. Understand the value of that pain point, right? So you understand the inputs, you understand what's happening, and you understand the outputs, and then you understand when you actually leverage AI, what are you going to solve? And I'll give you a real life example, because we actually did this when we actually went live with our automated QA, right? We introduced AI onto the back of that. We identified one problem. It was unnecessary swapping of dialysis devices for patients at home. What we were able to utilize through bringing this tool in was, how do we actually coach our agents so they actually have more real-time experience data coming from the AI tool to enable them to course correct, to avoid that unnecessary swapping. So it's just one piece of the whole technical support spectrum. And from that one piece, we were able to have a very tangible ROI. We were also able to understand, okay, what does it do then from a workforce planning for our actual quality control group? Well, their roles didn't go away. They now become call center coaches. Guess what? they're not listening to calls all day long. They're actually now having coaching conversations. So we've upskilled them. They're doing things very different to what they did before. They love it, by the way, because how mind destroying to just listen to call after call after call. They only scrape the barrel with 5%. Now they're having all the rich data coming back. They can see all these patterns, and they're having some meaningful conversations with the folks in our center, right? But it's just one use case. It's very, very simple. When you go up, we have tons of data in our call center. We love it, right? We feel very comfortable. Wrap me in data, and no one's going to ask me any questions. When you go up the line, you only need 5 or 6 key performance indicators that's going to track this with a value, and you go in month after month after month, showing improvement or showing what's working or not working, how your course correcting, but do not change those 5 or 6 key performance indicators, because the moment you do, you'll lose your C-suite.
I'm interested, JMP, in understanding what's your perspective on as your workforce begins to become more hybrid, right? Where you have humans and you have KPIs for your humans, and you start to bring in AI. What's your perspective on having hybrid metrics? Like, do you have metrics for your AI and metrics for your human workforce?
We do, but what we do is we are calibrating our AI the same as you would a human agent. So guess what? When we first went live with the large language model, 30 days, what would an agent who's been in training for 30 days come out the gate doing? 40%. Okay, we're expecting 40% then, right? It's ingesting a lot more data than a live agent. We use that ramp as a way to say, right, so 6 months, now it's actually performing at 90% of a live agent. There's a constant loop because you can't walk away and leave your AI agents as you can some of your human agents, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to, but today we actually show the comparison between two, and they become complementary to our contact center, not, oh, look at the AI compared to the humans. It's like, look at the ecosystem as a whole and look what it's delivering.
Man, I knew we were gonna get to the bottom of our time, and I was gonna be like, one of the things JMP, would love to hear you talk a little bit more about is how you're seeing, like, as you're doing that constant kind of loop of like, oh, this is what AI is doing, this is what the human workforce is doing, how you are looking and planning for that. Like, oh, AI is handling this kind of work, and so then this is what this means from how we need to staff from a human perspective.
We sort of come in and it's like, okay, so what are we expecting to come into the center? Okay, what do we think is realistically for the tool to handle versus what our human agents to handle? And then we sort of apply, you apply some shrinkage. We apply shrinkage to our AI tool because you know what, it's not going to work all the time. And sometimes in our ecosystems, which are extremely complicated and complex, we only need to change one tiny factor and the AI just hallucinates and falls over. Right, it does. So there's shrinkage in there. Like I said, we treat them pretty much as if they are the same as a human agent, and we factor that in. Well, but as we become more proficient and become more sort of, I would say, less risk averse. I'm very risk averse, right? With any kind of technologies, let's just have a very slow ramp, crawl, walk, run. Right? When you can run, then you can really maybe crank it up because you feel a lot more comfortable. But you still got to make sure that you're not cranking it too high, because also if you get it wrong, it's the impact that has. And for us, that's patience. And what we can't have is patients sat in unnecessary swirls because our AI is not actually listening, or we've made it way too complex and they can't get out of these complex sort of like swirls with AI. So it's like, how do we ensure that the human remains firmly in the loop at each piece? That's by not cranking it up too much.
I love that. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it, JP. JP, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, guys, you heard it here first. Was JMP not amazing? We got to have him back, right? We got to, okay. All right. I know y'all thinking the same thing. I know y'all are thinking the same thing. I think the most impactful thing, I mean, there's so many nuggets. We probably got to do like a recap show of like JMP, right? But some of the most impactful things that I really want you to focus in on that JMP talked about was understanding that patient journey, because that's how you're going to really get impact out of your hybrid workforce, right? Out of your AI plus human workforce is really understanding what is the patient journey, where is it important to infuse AI, and where should we be leveraging humans. The other thing that I think was absolutely fantabulous that JMP talked about was really making sure that you treat the AI very the same, and if not similar, right, to your human workforce, right? So if you expect the humans to come out of training and be 40% productive, then what do you think is going to happen when you turn on AI? And it depends on the capacity in that you're using AI. And so I think that is truly impactful and important. The other thing that I absolutely love that we got to have another show about is the workforce planning side of it. When JMP talked about shrinkage for the AI, I almost jumped up out of this chair, okay? I almost jumped up out of this chair, but I got to stay on camera for y'all, okay? So we're going to stay tuned for part 2 because I am definitely bringing him back to talk a little bit about workforce planning when it comes to AI and a hybrid workforce. So I'm super excited. I hope that you learned something in this episode. Until next time, you already know what to do. Go be great and let's make an impact. Until next time, see you later. Bye.